And we are live for episode number 18 of Lowering the Barrier. Hi, everybody. I'm Alex.
Hi, I'm Maddie.
And today we have a really cool episode. If you caught our last episode, which was Worst 5 Supplements, we kind of talked about how some of these episodes have been very overwhelming in terms of trying to do a lot of research and preparation. We still prepped a lot for this one.
For sure.
But it wasn't like 10 hours of reading studies to make one singular point,
Right.
and that's kind of what we were doing in the past. And so today we kind of had a conversation about like what we want to do with this. And we're like, do people really need to know about, the 5,000 year etymology of the word hunger? Like we did that at one point.
Yeah.
And people don't,
Right.
that's interesting. It's a fun fact, but it's not something that we need to like get really into the weeds on.
Right.
So anyways, we're going to try to move into more practical information, stuff that you can really get takeaways from. And there will be an interactive section at the end that will be really cool. So if you're driving, you don't have to pull over yet, but maybe like once you get to that point, maybe like just pause for a second and pull over and, don't get into a car crash like we did 2 weeks ago. We hit a deer though. It's not like it was negligent anyways. But yeah, there will be an interactive section at the end where you will set up like an entire fat loss phase or like your entire diet, calories, protein, fiber, everything that you could need to know to have a successful fat loss phase. And the title of today's episode, we're not really sure on this. Which one of these did you like the most?
The first one.
The first one? Okay. Then the working title is The Beginner's Blueprint. We thought that one was really good.
Mm-hmm.
We had a few other options: The Step-by-Step Guide to Fitness, or The Step-by-Step Guide to Becoming the Fittest You, or The Beginner's Guide to Fitness and Nutrition. We like those too, but The Beginner's Blueprint, holy shit, man, that rolls off the tongue.
The alliteration is so solid.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you are watching us in video today rather than just audio, we downgraded our camera. You would think I was going to say upgraded our camera. We changed our camera. So I have this very fancy camera that I got when I was, new into the like social media sphere. And I thought like, oh, if I want to become big on Instagram, I need to have a nice camera. So I spent $1,000 on a camera. We don't use it because my iPhone is just as sufficient, but it's even more realistic because I can just take it places. It's like always in my pocket, super, super easy to use. The files that are on there, I don't have to transfer them over before editing, all that. So we were using the really nice camera, which allegedly records in 4K, but there was something to do with like the wiring that when it would connect it in my Mac, that it just wasn't showing up. It was blurry. And now this is just a preview for us, and we'll see what it looks like on the other side of it, but it is looking way clearer. So
yes, early reads are positive.
Yeah, early reads are positive. I like that. So just let us know if you do notice a difference if you are watching on video, whether that's Spotify or YouTube. Sorry, Apple doesn't do video at this point. Also, if you were on Apple and you notice like 17 new episodes were uploaded, that was like a thing that I did, a background thing. My bad for blowing you up. My bad for... I was going to use the honey phrase, the honey D phrase, but I'm not going to use that phrase. I'm not going to use that phrase.
Yeah.
If you're curious about what the honey D phrase is, go watch The Interview. The one with, who is it? Logan and James Franco. Yeah. All right. What are we watching lately before we get into it? What's it called? Dark Matter. Yeah, Dark Matter on Apple TV. So it's currently coming out. I think episode 5 is out now. We just finished episode 4. First 2 episodes were awesome. Third episode was okay. Fourth episode was getting a little shaky at the end. Or not at the end, just the whole thing. But then at the end was kind of cool. I said like the end was kind of exciting,
Yeah. I have mixed reviews so far.
Yeah. So this is not a recommendation yet. We're going to get a few more episodes in before we do recommend it. But that's what we're watching right now. If you do decide to watch it, don't watch a trailer. So strongly am recommending do not watch a trailer because it will give major plot points away that would be a lot more fun to kind of discover.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
Highly recommend not watching a trailer on that one. Just a heads up, the next cycle of Forward Forever, the registration opens up June 16th, so that is coming up. And then just a subtle reminder to like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, do what you got to do. We really appreciate it. And if you enjoy this episode, please screenshot and tag on Instagram.
Yeah.
Tag us at AlexToomeyFitness and at Meals with Maddie. Okay, so some of the questions that we were trying to tackle with this episode were like, what do you need to focus on when you're a beginner? There's a lot of noise out there on social media and just like general random programs like, oh, you have to be doing keto, you have to be doing fasting, you have to be, doing these different things. And so we wanted to break that down into, really, like, what do you absolutely need to do to become a healthier and fitter version of you? And we're talking physical fitness. If you're talking psychological fitness, dog, even I don't have that figured out. So like, let me know. We're not going to touch on that at all. Okay, but we're gonna break it down into a few different things, and then at the end of this, we're gonna have the practical step by step kind of takeaways, and that'll be a cool section. So we're just gonna start riffing on this a little bit.
Yeah, so we kind of came up with some general subjects or topics that kind of beginners should focus on or could focus on.
Yeah, and that first section is weight, your body weight. Maybe a semi-sensitive topic for some people. Kind of like the health at every size movement. They don't, want you to change your weight, but I think that's kind of, no offense, I think that's a little bit silly, because if people want to change their weight, they shouldn't be shamed into wanting to do that. And if people don't want to change their weight, that's their prerogative too. It's totally fine. Yeah. It's just like,
and you don't necessarily need to change your weight in order to become like there are things that you can focus on if you don't want to focus on weight loss.
Yeah, as absolutely. Well. Yeah, you can focus on just healthier processes, and often though weight change will come along with that, but maybe it might be healthier for some people to not make that the sole focus and just kind of like, if weight change happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, but at least I'm moving toward a healthier version of myself. And
right, even if your focus is being more active, getting in the gym, lifting more, and you're not necessarily focusing on the calorie in portion, like you're still making steps towards a healthier change.
So when think about, do you want to change your weight? Do you want to go up? Do you want to go down? For a lot of people hearing this are probably like, up? What? Up? But there are a lot of people who, obviously more people, I would say, in America at least, struggle with being overweight or, having obesity. But there are a lot of people, myself included, back in the day that struggled to gain weight. I was very active in different sports, primarily soccer, food allergies. I was kind of a specific case scenario because of the food allergies, but a lot of people struggle with putting on weight, and it's like they just don't have that appetite. And I didn't have that appetite. I was moving a lot, and so I was always like, coming out of high school, I was 115, 120 pounds, at 5'8", which is, that's small. That's really, really skinny. So for me, it was, I wanted to gain weight. And whether you want to gain weight or you want to lose weight, if that is a focus, even if it's not necessarily focus, you probably should have some kind of idea of your calories. And that's really what it's going to come down to, is if we zoom out enough, day to day, there are these fluctuations, but if we kind of zoom out, look at averages, it'll always come down to calories in versus calories out. If you're eating more calories than you expend, then you're going to be gaining weight. And if you're eating less calories than you expend, you're going to be losing weight. And that may be very straightforward to some of you, but there are still a number of people that, oh, it's my cortisol that's making me gain weight. Oh, it's my hormones that are making me gain weight. It's, insulin, or it's my blood sugar, and those kind of go hand in hand, but it's all these different things. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be calories in versus calories out. When I was younger, I would, I'm not saying that this is an accurate way of thinking, but when I was younger, I would see something like, oh, I burned 600 calories in this workout. Now, let me first say that like calorie expenditure from a wristwatch or anything like that is not accurate. But I was like, okay, I burned 600 calories during that workout. I didn't know, this is when I was like, I don't know, maybe 12, 13. I didn't know that my body burnt calories just by like being alive, and a significant amount. So I would see like, let's say 600 calories, and then I would go eat, whatever, a burger or something like that, and it was like 800 calories. It's like, oh my God. So I have to do 5 of those workouts basically every day just to maintain my weight. That's not how it works. So there are 4 parts to your energy expenditure. We've gone over this in a previous episode. I'm not going to like rattle on about it, but just know that your basal metabolic rate, your baseline energy expenditure, is like 60% of your energy expenditure. Even if you just laid on a couch, you would still be expending energy, because it takes energy to keep us alive. your heart got to keep beating, your brain's got to keep thinking.
Yeah, all of those bodily functions.
Yeah, some days it doesn't feel like my brain's thinking that hard, but it is, I swear.
I don't know about mine.
Yeah, now that you're building a baby,
yeah,
I don't know, your brain's
things have slowed down.
Yeah, your brain's slowing down a little bit. All right, so once you have that decision made on weight, like, do I want to gain weight? Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to maintain my weight? Or do I not really care? One more note before we move on. Maybe don't set like, I mean, I don't necessarily hate the idea of a strict, like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds or something like that. Mm-hmm. But if you are like, if you're the person that's thinking, okay, well, now I'm 150 and I felt really good when I was, I don't know, I'm just going to use a number of 130, for example. Sure. Back in college, I was 130 pounds. I felt really, really good. Back in college, were you lifting weights? And now if you are lifting weights and you're gaining muscle, let's say you gain 5-10 pounds of muscle, man, that 130, that might be one, unrealistic, and two, you might just not feel that good, and three, you might look and feel really good, let's say at 135 or 140. Yeah. These goalposts kind of change a little bit. So I would go less off of, personally, as far as like goals go, I would go less off of like, oh, I want to lose X pounds of weight. And, again, I don't think that's the worst way to go, because I think those milestones can be nice. Like every 5 pounds, you kind of celebrate or things like that. But I just wouldn't have this like very determined, like, oh, I need to lose 20 pounds or I need to lose, X pounds or I need to weigh X weight. Because you just don't know exactly what you're going to look like if you are gaining muscle at the same time. I mean, it's just, it's very, very different.
Yeah. Body composition is a very interesting topic, and your weight, I just think having that flexibility of mentally saying, okay, I'm going to focus more so on the way I look, if I've achieved the look that I'm kind of going for, or I feel better. Right. That's probably I don't want to say better approach, but it could be a better approach for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, I agree. Okay, the next topic that you're going to want to nail for, just trying to get into a healthier shape after weight, after you've decided what you want to do or what you don't want to do with weight, is your nutrition. And so how you're going to set up a diet. Now, I'm going to recommend that when you do set up a diet, you focus on 3 things. And it's not protein, carbs, and fats. It is calories, protein, and fiber. Calories, because, as we talked about, calorie balance will determine weight loss or weight gain. So that is the number one most important thing if you want to change your weight or not want to change your weight. Then you need to be eating kind of close to calorie maintenance. Protein, because that is the building block of muscle along with a lot of other physical structures. If you're not getting sufficient protein intake, you're probably not going to gain, you won't gain as much muscle as you could. We'll talk about like what a good protein target will be in a minute. And then fiber. And fiber is, there's more things to just muscle growth than protein, by the way. I guess I should have talked about that. But, muscle growth is obviously very important to me, but it's also has the highest thermic effect out of all the macronutrients. Protein burns the most calories, about 30% thermic effect. So if you were eating 100 calories of protein, roughly 30 calories of that would be used for the process and digestion of protein. It's also very satiating, so really nice in a fat loss phase, especially to try to maybe pump up that protein a little bit. Yeah. And then fiber, very, very good for gut health, regularity in the bathroom, normal shits, not too watery, not too deer-like, as I was this morning. And I told you I need to eat a little more fiber.
Yeah.
And I did. I had a bowl of Frosted Mini Wheats. Got an easy 14 grams early in the day. I'm very proud of myself.
That's a lot of fiber.
A lot of fiber. Okay, so for calories, what you're going to do, and we will again have a step-by-step guide at the end of this episode that we can, we'll walk through together. But for calories, a good idea, like the gold standard for this, is really just going to be track your calorie intake for 2 to 3 weeks, track your weight for 2 to 3 weeks, and then kind of look at how things are moving. So for example, if you are, let's say, use the number 150 pounds, week 1, week 2, 151 pounds, week 3, 152 pounds. Okay, you are going up in weight week to week to week. And it's important that you look at weekly averages and not just like, okay, on Sunday I was 150. Then on Sunday of week 2, I was 151. Then on Sunday of week 3, I was 152. Because that is, you don't know if you're just seeing these high fluctuations.
Right.
You'd have to zoom out a little bit more. So I'd recommend taking your weight every single day first thing upon waking up, after using the bathroom, before eating or drinking anything, then you can just control for as many variables as possible. If one day, you take your weight in the morning, then the next day you take your weight in the evening, dude, you're going to be way heavier in the evening because you've been eating and drinking all day, right? So just try to control for as many variables as possible. And then look at the average week to week to week. So take at least 3 data points for your weight and look at that. Don't just look at one. It's not enough. So yeah, that would be my gold standard, is look at your calorie intake versus weight over time and kind of make a decision based on that. Okay, so if you're going up in weight, you know that you're in a calorie surplus. You're eating too many calories. So you look at your calories, you're like, okay, I'm eating on average, for example, 2,200 per day. All right, I'm gaining about a pound a week. I need to dial that back a little bit. If I was gaining about a pound a week, I would think that very, very roughly that I'm in about a 500 calorie surplus. And this will change, unfortunately. They're not super static targets because of metabolic adaptation. Fancy term, basically just saying that as we increase or decrease, as we change our calorie intake or the amount of calories we eat, our energy expenditure will adapt to that. So for example, with myself, when I'm in a cut, holy shit, my maintenance goes down. My maintenance goes down so fast. And I kind of notice it. Like I force myself to move more and to walk more, to take more steps. But it's even still, it just does decrease by about 400 or 500 calories. And then as soon as I move into a bulk, my calories are pumped right back up 400 or 500 calories. So it does happen to everybody at varying degrees. I feel like for me, it happens quite a bit, but it will happen to everybody. So if you make that adjustment and you're like, it's not moving as much as I thought, or it's not, if you made a 500 calorie adjustment, you're not going to be in a surplus anymore. Almost certainly, unless you were in a massive surplus.
Sure.
But yeah. Do you think I need to go over any more examples for that? Or do you think that's good for as far as calories go?
Yeah, I think for calories, that's good.
Okay. All right. And then if you're losing weight, yes, you're in a deficit. If you're maintaining weight, yeah, you're at maintenance. I think that makes pretty good sense. For protein, so I would recommend roughly 0.7 or 0.7 or 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. Now, if you have roughly 30 or more pounds to lose, I would use your goal body weight. So let's say you're please don't take this personally, or this is not me calling out a specific numbers, you shouldn't weigh this much or anything like that. But let's just for argument's sake and easy rounding, let's say 200 pounds and your goal body weight is 170 pounds. Then I would use 170 as that multiplier. I would take that 170, multiply that by 0.7 or 0.8 grams. That's a great protein target. And don't feel like you have to go 0 to 100 with this. If you're currently at 40, 50 grams and your goal is 120 grams, maybe shoot for 80 next week, maybe shoot for 90 the week after that, maybe shoot for 100 the week after that, and just, try to increase over time. Now, if you're in a calorie deficit and you're kind of lean, you might want to pump that up to 1 gram per pound of protein or per pound of body weight, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It might help you out marginally more with lean mass retention, with satiety. So I personally do that. I actually go up to 1.1, 1.2 grams per pound, sometimes even a little bit higher.
Yeah, you keep your protein target very high.
Really, really, really high. Just because it's an easy one for me to, to hit.
Yeah.
It helps out with satiety so much. It's if I'm at that point, I've been lifting for 12 years. If I can just do things to make it a little bit more optimal, I will do that, because it's not something where if I don't get sick of this lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't get burnt out from what I'm doing in terms of lifting or nutrition. Lifting, yeah. Nutrition,
sure.
If I'm in a cut, I wrapped up the cut yesterday.
Yeah.
So I do get kind of tired of that. But in terms of during a cut, I have a mission. It's to get 170, 180, 200. A lot of days I'm up to 200 grams plus per day, and I'm only 160 pounds body weight. Anyway, and then for fiber, you want to shoot for 14 grams per 1,000 calories eaten. That's a great target. If you can go higher, that's fine too. So let's say your calorie target is 2,000 calories.
Right.
You'd be shooting for 28 grams of fiber. For just a general target, if you don't feel like worrying about the multipliers and stuff like that, if you shot for 25 grams, if you're a woman, per 25 grams of fiber if you're a woman, and 35 grams if you're a man, that's probably going to be a pretty good target. Now, the reason I say man versus woman is there's nothing different in terms of I'm not going to say nothing different in terms of our stomachs, but The only reason I'm saying that is because men are on average bigger and on average consume more calories, and women on average consume less calories and are smaller. That's the only reason I'm making that differentiation between 25 grams and 35 grams. But yeah, and if you eat more than that, it's totally fine as long as you don't notice any GI distress.
Yeah. Fiber is one that I feel like if you track your current intake right now, you probably are a little low.
You're going to be upset.
Maybe be strategic on how quickly you bump that up.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good call. Yeah, if somebody's eating like 5-6 grams, which I've seen people, I've worked with plenty of adults.
It's harder to hit that target than I think a lot of people realize.
I absolutely agree. What are some of the fiber sources that you enjoy?
Raspberries are a really solid one when you consider fiber content per calorie.
Yeah, I think it's like 14 grams of fiber per cup.
8 grams per cup, I think.
Let me check that.
Yeah, I was just doing some research into fiber. Popcorn, air popped popcorn is a great one, or like stovetop.
Yeah, you're right. 8 grams.
A lot of your fruits and veggies contain good fiber. Watch out for your leafy greens, not because they don't contain it. It's just in such small quantities that your salad is lower fiber than you probably think.
Yeah, you eat a salad, you think like, I've done my job.
Yeah, no. Your salad probably has 3 grams.
Literally.
And that's for a big salad.
That's a big salad. Yeah, you're better off just like throwing like 2 carrots in there and you're good. Like,
yeah, seriously, carrots are a great source. Things like quinoa, that's a great one.
Beans.
Yep.
Seeds, flax, chia seeds, yeah.
Yep.
You know, and you could throw a lot of those things in a smoothie. A smoothie is a great way to hit a protein target, hit a fiber target, to help you hit those things. You know, you throw some seeds in there, you throw some berries in there, you throw a scoop of protein powder in there, and you're like well on your way to checking off a whole lot of boxes.
Yeah.
All right, next topic on nutrition is like, do food choices matter? So sort of like yes and no. Do you want to start this topic?
Sure. Yeah, I think yes and no is a great way to put it, because you can eat whatever you want and hit a calorie target and be in a deficit or be in a whatever your goal is. You can manipulate any food to hit that number. The thing you have to consider is, how do those foods make you feel from a satiety perspective? And I don't mean like, oh, I ate sugar and now my belly's upset. I mean, like, did you eat enough to feel full at the end of the day? Especially if you're in a deficit, that's the
number one battle.
The biggest battle as far as sustainability.
If people think like they are going to lose 2 pounds per week, I welcome them to try, because they will be so hungry that, I mean, I'm like relatively lean right now. You know, I just finished up my 6th week of a deficit and decided to call it because hunger, you know, part of it was like we kind of had a little stomach bug situation that was like, I'm not going to be in a deficit during this, and I don't feel like going back to a deficit after, you know, we take care of this. But hunger I always tell people, hunger is the war, and you have to win it, you know, and it's a daily battle. It is a little bit of hunger is normal. A moderate degree of hunger is okay. But if you start getting to the heavy degree of hunger, I mean, it is...
Especially at night.
If you're dealing with severe hunger, I literally give somebody a matter of days, unless they have some insane like end goal. For example, bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can willpower yourself through it, but hunger is something that is so hard to, and it's not a knock on somebody for saying like, dude, I'm just really, really hungry and I'm sick of being this hungry. Like, that's not me saying like, oh, you're mentally weak or anything like that.
No, that's
so difficult to overcome hunger if you are not choosing the right food. So do food choices matter? Like, from a weight perspective, no, honestly. Like, there's a guy that he did like the Twinkie diet where he ate a bunch of gas station foods. He had a multivitamin, I think protein shakes too, but ate a lot of Twinkies, a lot of like Ho-Hos or Ho-Ohs, whatever they're called. Ho-Oh is the Pokemon from Pokemon Gold. I don't think it was that. Ho-Hos, I think is what they're called.
It's Ho-Hos, yeah.
Anyways, I was a Lugia guy myself. It doesn't matter, but you probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
No.
My Pokemon fans out there, all 3 of them know what I'm talking about. Like, Pokemon is huge. It's just like the overlap between Lowering the Barrier Fitness podcast and Pokemon fans is probably, that Venn diagram is so friggin' small. So like, yeah, in terms of weight loss, it'll come down to calories, but then in terms of body composition, it'll come down to calories and protein. Then in terms of like overall health, that's where food choices really do matter. And, you know, that is where you can get into, I don't like calling foods healthy or unhealthy because all foods could be health promoting given the right context. If somebody, I fucking hate when people are like, oh, an unhealthy food, and especially coaches that like should know better when they say like junk food or unhealthy food.
Yeah.
If I'm starving in a desert and I come upon a box of Twinkies, that is the most health promoting thing ever. That calorie density, that, and for like, let's use maybe less of an extreme example, but sort of still an extreme example. Somebody who has cancer and is struggling getting their calories and they don't have the appetite, if they are eating pizza and ice cream, and I don't fucking care. I'm so tired of people being like, oh, that's junk food. They shouldn't eat that. They should eat whatever the fuck they want because they need to get the calories in. I'm very passionate about that because, you know, I'm not going to get into it, but that is something that I find to be very, very frustrating when people, there are healthy and unhealthy patterns, dietary patterns, but foods in singularity. The only unhealthy food that I can immediately come to mind is alcohol.
Right.
That is a class 1 carcinogen that has absolutely detrimental effects on your health. And I'm going to be honest, at any dose. Like the World Health Organization came out with that article last year, maybe it was early this year, that said alcohol is not safe in any dose. So before you start talking about, oh, your McDonald's cheeseburger is unhealthy, do you drink beer? Do you drink wine? Because that, I'm not kidding, that is so much worse for your health.
Right. Yeah. People, this is a generalization, so like take it with a grain of salt, but a lot of times people will see anything that's high calorie as unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I think
that's
it's also
so context dependent.
Right. And it's so important to think there are a lot of people who struggle with regular appetite.
Right.
Or, you know, when you consider like younger kids who maybe are falling off of their growth curve.
Right.
They need to rely on those higher calorie things.
That was me. Yeah. I needed like, I did not eat enough food. And when I was younger, I would come home from school and eat like a Pop-Tart, right? And I don't know, I had something like a protein shake. I don't know, something.
Sure.
But V8 Splash, I was big with V8 Splash back then. But anyways, and somebody, you know, a family member close to me said like, oh, you're eating like junk food, you're eating sugar. You would grow so much better if you didn't eat that.
Right.
Wow, I wish I could smack him in the face now. Like just for like twisting my perceptions on food at such a young age and not helping me actually understand. And like, yeah, anyway. So like, you know, what these healthy dietary patterns or unhealthy dietary patterns might look like are focusing on whole foods. That's probably, not even probably, that is a very, very smart idea. You will probably hit your protein. You will probably hit your fiber. You will probably have an easier time managing your hunger if you do focus on whole foods. But also don't demonize, you know, those kinds of like, I like calling them fun foods because I don't use the term junk foods, but like the foods that you enjoy a little bit more, the ice cream, the, you know, the McDonald's, like, yes, you probably shouldn't be eating those foods every single day if you want to have a very healthy overarching dietary pattern. But to call any one food in isolation outside of alcohol unhealthy, I think is so redundant and just dumb. I mean, I just think it's dumb. All right, our next little section, and this will be a quick one because we kind of talked about it, but how to monitor changes and how to adjust based on data, and also like what should you be looking for. So I already talked about like, you know, taking your weight 7 times per week in the morning, you know, yada, yada, yada. But then look at the average of that week and compare that average week to week to week. You know, if on Friday you're 161 and then on Saturday you're 159, you didn't drop 2 pounds of body fat overnight. It takes roughly 3,500 calories to gain or lose 1 pound of body fat. So, and that's in addition, or that's, let's say to gain, that'd be in addition to your maintenance. Let's say your maintenance calories are 2,000. And then on Friday, you're 159. On Saturday, you're 161. Do you really think that you ate 5,500 calories worth of food?
Right.
It's not even perfect math because as you eat more, you will expend more calories. The thermic effect of food, you're going to probably be pacing around a lot more just because you have so much energy in you. Again, that metabolic adaptation does upregulate in addition to downregulate based on your energy intake. So in addition to weight, I like looking at circumference measurements. Whatever ones you want to do are fine. Like if you want to measure your arms, look at your biceps, how my arms growing, biceps, triceps growing, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Or like your thighs, if you want to see how your quads and hamstrings and adductors are growing, your calves, whatever you want.
Yeah. Waist and hips tend to be popular ones.
I think neck, waist, and hips are three those three are, you should really be doing. Waist especially. Waist is a really, really prominent one. And just kind of look at that. I like taking those maybe once a month. I don't think more frequent is necessary than that, because those changes do kind of happen relatively slowly.
Yeah.
And then progress photos. And I would do those once a month as well. And I just set a reminder on my phone the first of every month. I take measurements for all three of those things, or not all three of those things, but the progress photos and then measurements.
Yep.
And measurements that I do. Now I'm overkill on this, but I just like I have this big spreadsheet and I fill it with data, and it's neck, shoulders, chest, waist. I do around the arms, like at my bicep peak. I do forearms at the widest point.
And you do both sides.
I do both sides. Yep. I do hips with my feet together. I do both my left and right thigh at their widest point, left and right calves. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's everything I do. So you don't have to do all that, but I like doing all that because, again, I've been lifting for a long time at this point, and progress is hard to come by. So I'm like a friggin' detective, like trying to look anywhere I can to try to find, where I'm progressing. And then also look at your strength over time. And that's really the major thing that will tell you if you're gaining muscle. Visually, it's hard to tell that you've gained muscle,
especially if you have other body changes going on at the same time.
Oh yeah, if you're like in a deficit, losing weight, if you're gaining weight, that can be kind of hard to tell. But strength is one of those things that, if you're just gaining, strength on an exercise for the first few weeks of doing a new exercise, okay, those are neurological gains. But if it's been months of doing the same exercises and you're still like increasing reps, maybe not every week, but every 2, 3, 4 weeks, you are gaining muscle because something is driving that strength change. And again, at a certain point, neurological changes, adaptations do kind of tap out or get close to max efficiency. So yeah, it's new contractile tissue or new muscle. And then how to monitor change or how to adjust based on data. So, I think weight will always be the determinant of if you need to adjust calories. So look at the weekly averages. Are you going in the direction you want to be? If not, adjust your calorie intake. But before you do, I would just be 100% sure that you're tracking everything accurately in terms of your tracking your food. Yeah, do an audit. Like when you ate chicken and broccoli last night, did you track chicken and broccoli? Did you weigh out your chicken and broccoli? Did you add butter or olive oil? Did you add it to the pan? Those are some
big ones.
That's the biggest one that I see is like, oh, I didn't even think about adding I use the spray, so it doesn't count. How long was your spray?
Right.
That spray, I know it says 0 calories on the back, but that's for like 1/4 of a second of a spray, and they round down. So if it's a 1 second spray, the way I do it, I'd rather overestimate my calorie intake. That way I know I'm in a deficit. So I just track it as 50 calories no matter what. Even if it was a quick spray, even if I kind of wipe the pan a little bit after to kind of, coat the pan, it's 50 calories for me. That's just the way I do it.
Right.
I would rather have people guaranteed, maybe not guaranteed, I mean, basically guaranteed lose weight and guaranteed be in a calorie deficit than spin their wheels.
Right.
The other thing is, are you tracking accurately? When you go out on the weekends, did you track all your alcohol? Was it 1 glass of wine? Was it 2 glasses of wine? Was it a big glass of wine? Was it really that like 1.5 ounce shot? Was it like 2 of those? Was it?
And there's always a degree of estimation when you are out, especially. Yeah. So we're not saying you have to be perfect, but do your best. And I would personally recommend to overestimate when it comes to eating out, because like we say all the time, restaurants don't care about your calorie targets. Right. They care about making really tasty food, which typically comes with higher fat because they're delicious.
Yep.
But that does drive up your calories
a lot. Yeah.
And we're not trying to demonize eating out. Like we still eat out,
but like, I mean,
just be aware of it.
It does go down significantly when I'm in a fat loss phase because I have a mission, it's like, I'm not going to mess around and add time to this fat loss phase if I can avoid it, and we went out, a handful of times, but even when I do go out, it's like, I'm trying to choose lower calorie, leaner options, just because like, man, the calories can get away from you real quick, and you can work real hard to be in a deficit for 6 days, and on the 7th day, if you go nuts, like that deficit might be completely wiped out.
Yeah.
Especially for people who can't, afford to go as fast, whether it's due to just lifestyle, or they get hungry easier, or I don't know, their environment, their food environment. Let's say they're in a 200 calorie deficit, 6 days. Okay, you're in a deficit of 1,200 at the end of the week, and then you go out to dinner on Saturday. You don't plan ahead. That 1,200 calorie deficit, that could be literally shot, if not overblown.
Right.
So yeah, and then one rule that I like is just rounding to the nearest 250 calories. Dude, something is better than nothing, and like you should be able to know, is this 500? Is this 750? Is this 1,000? Is this 1,250? And if you don't know, pick the higher of the two. Pick between two. Yeah. Is it maybe this 1,000? Maybe it's 1,250. Like if it's a burger and fries, and like the burger's got bacon on it, it's got cheese, you threw some ketchup on it, it's got a brioche bun, that's probably 1,250 with the fries.
Yeah.
If you go out and get pizza, just assume that it's 1,250. Like,
right.
1,500 plus, that's if you have drinks too. That'd be hard to do. But yeah. I think if people knew how many calories were in a lot of food items at restaurants, they would be like, oh, fuck that.
It gets really hard. One other suggestion that we give frequently, or that I recommend, if you are really new to tracking and you like genuinely don't, like you can't look at a plate of food and say like, oh, that's probably 500 calories, or oh, that's probably 1,000 calories. If you really don't know how to do that, which is totally fine, it's a skill, go into your food tracker and look at, like, type in what you're eating at a restaurant, look at a couple of the recommendations or calories for similar meals, and then find one that's average or slightly higher. Don't pick the lowest calorie one, because it's probably just not true. If most of them are sitting at like 700-800 and there's one that's 400, don't pick the 400 calorie one. Go with the one that's 700 or 800.
Yeah.
But that can give you a really good.
And also, don't lie to your calorie tracker. Like, don't lie just to come in under calories or at your calorie target, because that will piss you off more than anything, because now you don't have accurate data. It's like, oh, what? No, I was in a calorie deficit. But like, you were lying to yourself and your calorie tracker. You would be much better served if you accurately tracked to the best of your capabilities and saw like, oh, okay, this week I tracked 2,100 on average per day across the week. Next week I probably should come in close to that 1,900. But if you lie to your calorie tracker and it's like, well, I ate 1,200 calories every day this week and I'm not losing weight. First off, you're lying. I mean, it takes a very rare circumstance. Like, you'd have to be 120 pounds and not move that much to be able to maintain at 1,200 calories. Yeah. It's a very common, that's like a number I see all the time. I think it's because of the MyFitnessPal.
Right. Yeah.
They used to,
I don't know if they've changed that, but they used to always estimate.
Are you a woman? You need to eat 1,200 calories. That was MyFitnessPal in a nutshell. It was ridiculous.
Horrible.
Yeah, don't get your calorie targets from MyFitnessPal, please. Maybe they've made it better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, okay, so we've covered weight, we've covered nutrition, we've covered monitoring and adjusting changes in data and stuff like that. Next, we're going to talk about lifting. So think about how many days per week you want to lift. I would shoot for, dude, at least 2. Like, 1 is better than 0 by an actual infinite amount. That's math for you. 0 is infinitely greater than 1. And then, if you can do 2, you will make significant progress at 2. You'll make even better progress at 3. Then it starts to get a little hairy if you make better progress at 4. Depends on recovery, depends on ultimately sustainability. Do you enjoy exercising, lifting 4 times per week? I would kind of push, not everybody, but a large amount of people away from 5, unless they've been lifting for a long time and are like, no, I love lifting. Like, I want to make it a core part of my personality. This is what me and my friends do. In that case, then like 5, like I worked with a few college kids that wanted to do 5-6 times a week. And it's like, you know what you're getting into, right? They're like, yeah, me and all my homies, we go to the gym. That's like our social hour. We love it. That's like, go nuts.
Yeah, to some extent. Like, what else you got going on? Right. You've got classes and
and then it's just sleeping. Hanging out. Right. Yeah. and they didn't drink, so it was like, whatever. Not saying you should be. They were all 21 plus. But yeah, one thing that I want to note with like lifting is like, more is not necessarily better. However, there there is some research to say that you do grow more with higher volumes, like with more sets per muscle group per week. But you also, if Grandma Jan is starting at like, I've never lifted before, don't give her 50 sets of quads week 1. Like, she will be ruined and will never want to lift again. So, if you are somebody that is like, okay, I want to pump up my volume a little bit more, then just do it over time. Like, increase by 1 or 2 sets per muscle group per week and do that over a number of weeks. But just know that there are also diminishing returns. So, if you start with like 10 sets of, let's say, I don't know, chest, sure. If you start with 10 sets of chest, jumping immediately to 20, first off, recovery is going to be tough. Maybe go 10, then 11, then 12, then, week to week to week. And then second, you're not going to get double the gains going from 10 to 20. Yeah. There are diminishing returns there. You're going to get, these are just made up numbers. Let's say you get 80% of growth with 10 sets per muscle group per week. That's a made up number that is not meant to be used as fact. Let's say you get 90% more gains. You're going to get so much of your gains from the first few, maybe say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish sets. You're going to get a lot less from the subsequent 10. You probably will still grow as long as recoverability is there, but just know that you don't have to do a whole lot to get a whole lot of stimulus and a whole lot of growth and a whole lot of strength progression, all that.
The other thing is, we're talking about the beginner's blueprint. So speaking to, I'm assuming people who aren't really like consistent with the gym, I think telling yourself, oh, I need to go 4 days a week, 5 days a week, you're just kind of setting yourself up for, I don't want to say failure because that's really aggressive, but I think if you go in and say, let me start with 2 to 3 days a week and really nail that, you're probably going to just enjoy the experience a little bit better, and hopefully long term it's a little bit more sustainable. You can always add on, but sometimes you'll have people who come in and are like, oh, I'm working out 5 days a week. Here's the program I'm running. It's built for 5 days a week. And then they go 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah. Then life just happens and now they feel like a failure. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with going 2 or 3 times a week. No. Like, I'm not saying that's worse or anything like that. But I think when it comes
to build some momentum.
Right. Yes. When it comes to being a beginner, start small so that you can get that momentum and those like wins in the book and then build upon it.
Yeah. One thing that I have a tweet in the chamber loaded, and it's something along the lines of, it's not like refined yet, but it's something along the lines of like, if you applied for a job and you got the job and you were hoping for 50K per year and they're like, hey, it's 45. Is that okay? But you're like desperate for a job. Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, that's fine. You go home kind of dejected. You tell your husband or wife, like, it was less than I was expecting, but it's good. I got a job. And if you went in with expectations of like, hey, you're going to get 45K per year. Is that okay? And you were hoping for 40. Mm-hmm. You're going to go home. You're pumping a bottle of champagne, maybe a 5K bottle of champagne.
Right.
That'd be reckless. But like, you're going to be so excited. You're going to be over the moon. And so this is kind of an extreme example, a silly example of maybe just shoot for 3 days per week. And if you go that 4th day, dude, hell yeah. Maybe go do some cardio. Maybe go hit arms or legs.
Something
or glutes,
you enjoy.
Yeah. Just like whatever. But like, if you set your expectations way too high, you failed yourself. Like, that's on you. You fucked up. Like, I mean, that's the reality of it, is like, you need to adjust your expectations and you need to allow yourself to get some wins before you feel bad about these false expectations that you put on yourself. That's life advice. And then, for some people it's like, okay, well, what do I do when I go into the gym? Find a program you enjoy. The A-Team comes with a 7-day free trial. It's 4 days per week. There are instructions to move it down to 3 days per week.
Mm-hmm. Both home gym and
full gym in the same program for less than $1 per day. Yeah. I mean, if you get Starbucks once a week, if you get Starbucks 3 times a week, cut down one of those days per week and you have paid for the program and then some. Yeah. So, but there are other programs too. I'm going to shout out Jordan Lips. His program is really good. He has a group program and it's really, really good. And I don't make any money in fact, I may lose money from saying this, but he's a homie, good dude, and his program is really solid from what I've seen. So yeah, of course, I'd love for you to join the A team, but it's good to have options, and that would be another option to check out. Also, Dockless Fitness, Alyssa Olenek. She has more of a cardio.
She's got some really cool
lifting.
like hybrid.
Yeah, she has cardio and lifting, and I think Jordan has some hybrid stuff in his too. But I think Alyssa's is a little bit more like there's like a little bit more running based. I'm not sure on that. I don't know, like race specific type preparation stuff. Anyway, so just find a program. I went through, one of my buddies recently built a program, and I think he used AI, like an AI workout builder app, and it was total dog shit. So, I mean, it really, really was really genuinely bad. And like all exercise is good exercise, but like this was really bad in terms of like the recoverability would have been so low that he would have done one lift and been sore for like 5-6 days and not been able to lift for a while. It's just,
yeah.
So try to find a program from somebody that you respect and trust. I will say, as a little caveat, there's a coach that I follow with multiple thousands of followers, maybe tens of thousands of followers at this point. She shared a sample of her program, and it was like 5 sets of leg press, 5 sets of barbell squats, 5 sets of lunges, 5 sets of leg extension. And it was like, oh my God, you would not be able to walk, and not like the good kind of fun, like, oh, sure. I can't walk, I'm a little like, sore.
Oh, so tough.
No, that would be like, your body might not be able to recover from that in terms of like your workout performance the next week might be suffering. Yeah. Like that is way too much volume. So just try to find a coach that you trust and seems reasonable in terms of their exercise programming.
Yeah. Quick question, I guess. When you say like pick a program that like, or like you've seen someone who has a bad program, what are the things that stick out for a bad program? That way people can kind of know.
Yeah, good question.
Because it's not necessarily just exercise selection.
God, it would be keep going.
There are worse exercises as far as like stimulus and setup and all of that. Yeah. But is it mostly like a volume thing?
It's partially a volume thing. It's partially exercise selection. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's hard for me to like distill it into one singular point, without being able to teach people like the ins and outs of programming, exercise selection, volume, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, man, if you look at, okay, let's say you look at the Mona Lisa and then you look at like a toddler's picture. What's bad about it? It's like so much.
Yeah, I guess there's various levels.
So many things. It's like, okay, you didn't stay within the lines, toddler. Your brush strokes look awful. You used 2 different mediums. You used colored pencil, crayon, and marker, and none of them blended together seamlessly. It looks like, was this watercolor or did you just cry on it? I don't know. I'm going to be a great dad. But there are just a lot of things, but like it would, honestly, I think it would be difficult to tell, like, but
that's
I think
reasonable.
I have talked to other people that said, I've looked at other coaches' programs, or I've run other coaches' programs, and they've said, I just didn't, whether it's other coaches or, just people, they've said like something wasn't right about it. I just didn't enjoy it. I think that'd be the number one thing, is like, if you don't enjoy it, okay, time to
that's reasonable.
Time to cut it. But yeah, that was a good question. Unfortunately, it's a really hard.
It's a hard one to answer. Yeah.
All right, a few more sections here before we get into the practical takeaways. So daily movement, going to be really, really important just for overall health. So one way that we track this is steps. Everybody's talking about steps lately, and it's really just to measure general activity. There's nothing magical about walking everywhere, contrary to what my golden retrievers would tell you.
I was going to say, I don't know. I love going for a walk.
Yeah, great for your mental health.
It does feel pretty majestic.
Yeah, but it's just really making sure that you're generally active, but try to find some kind of activity you enjoy. So like pickleball is all the rage right now. Maddie and I are trying to pick up golf. We might even go golfing after this, TBD. Maybe.
Yeah, if I have a golf outfit that fits.
Yeah, fair. Disc golf, we have done that. We've quite a bit over the last, I've been playing disc golf for, I don't know, a dozen years, maybe more. Oh, feeling old. Soccer, that's a great one. Hiking, cycling, etc. Just try to find some kind of activity that you enjoy, or you can go the temptation bundling route, which is where you combine something you should do with doing something you enjoy doing. So for me, do I necessarily love being like on my Peloton, the cycling for an hour straight? like, no, but I don't hate it. But and so that's something, you know. But what I do enjoy is chess. I love playing chess. And so I play, you know, chess games, usually 10 minutes per side. So like it could be up to a 20-minute game. And, you know, I play a few of those. And next thing you know, I've biked for literally 20 miles over the course of an hour. So that could be something that you do. And temptation bundling can be, oh man, you can use this in so many different ways. You could put on your favorite podcast, like this one, not like this one, when you do the dishes or you're doing the laundry or, you know, basically anything like that. I had some clients who we had talked about putting, you know, they said they have their favorite shows. And so that's why it's been kind of hard for them to get in the gym, because they really do bond over those shows and they really do enjoy it. I said, can you put a TV in your gym? You had a basement gym. I mean, it's like their heads exploded. They were like, yes. Why have we never thought about doing that? Of course we could do that. So I started doing that and gym time went up. So yeah. Anything you want to add on to that one?
Yeah, just briefly, we're doing some stuff on like habit building, and temptation bundling is a really big one when it comes to habit building.
Doing some stuff on habit building. Do you want to plug it? You should plug it. You've worked so hard on this.
Yeah. So it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but it's coming out. It's a free guide all about habit building. So we talk about how to establish habits, different strategies for implementing habit building, ways to reflect, analyze, and, you know, make adjustments over time. And we also get a little bit into like breaking. I don't like calling habits bad or good, but if there are unwanted behaviors, which I guess is bad, but if there are unwanted behaviors that you find yourself doing, we kind of talk about how to cut that out as well. But when it comes to temptation bundling, you can be pretty extreme with this. Like one of the pieces of advice that I wrote it.
Yeah.
One of the pieces of advice is if you have a favorite album or a favorite song, only listen to it when you're doing the thing you have been avoiding. So if you need to get your steps in, and one way you do that is mowing the grass, that's the only time you get to listen to your favorite podcast is you put that episode on when you are mowing the grass for the week. Now you're getting your steps in, you're mowing the grass, which you needed to do anyway, and you get to enjoy your favorite podcast.
Yep. Yeah. And I think she may be kind of underselling how much of a beast this habit, what are you calling it? Habit? Is that the habit builder?
Yeah, I've been calling it a few different things.
Yeah. Well, a working title, but I mean, how many pages is this thing?
We're up to like 20-ish, I think.
We could probably sell this for like $100. It is so full of information and activities and
it's very interactive,
self-reflection. And so this is something that we could sell for probably $100, and we might sell down the road, but we do kind of want to give it away for at first, at least for the people who have been following us for so long and been so supportive, but eventually we might turn into a paid product. So if you're hearing this like in a year down the road and you're thinking like, what, that was free at one point, sorry, should have been here earlier. But yeah, we spent $1,000 on a course for her that was just phenomenally helpful. And then for the first time ever, I saw Maddie actually, when I say doing research, I don't mean Googling things. I mean looking at meta-analyses, looking at research studies and actually reading them and going through it. So I thought that was really impressive. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. Once I left my corporate job, I realized like, oh, I have to like know stuff.
Yeah, yes. All right. So there are just a few more things before we start getting into the takeaways and then wrapping it up. So hunger management and food volume, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but I would refer to episode 7 for even more information on this. So that was the how to make a fat loss phase suck less, or what do we call it? No, that was the working title. The real title is, I think, 7 tips to crush a diet.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
It was either 5, 6, 7, or 8 tips to crush a diet.
I think it ended up being 7.
I think it was 7, but yeah, because it was episode 7.
Yeah.
I remember that being a thing. Okay, so yeah, but we are also going to be coming out with a hunger management episode down the road, but until then, episode 7 would be really good. Also, I do have an upcoming seminar, just free webinar, doing a lot of free stuff lately. We just want to give back, I guess. We have a free webinar coming up, June 15th?
Yes.
June 15th that I will be hosting, and it's how to bulletproof a fat loss phase. So if this was helpful, this episode was helpful, you should definitely be tuning in for that, because that will be very, very cool. Okay, just know that hunger management is super, super important. Try to increase your food volume by choosing foods that are low calorie on a per like volume basis. So, for example, 140 calories of Oreos versus 140 calories of broccoli. I know they're not the same thing. I'm not saying that. Some people get like a little bit too on me when I say things, or other people when we say things like that.
Like we know they're not equivalent.
Oh, they're not gonna That's why scratch the same itch. No shit. No shit. Like I'm not saying like I'm not going to sniff an Oreo, then take a bite of broccoli and be like, that was good. You know, like I still want the Oreos. It's just, if you are trying to manage your hunger, if you are trying to lose weight, you do need to manage your hunger. And if you are trying to do that, you need to choose higher volume foods on a very consistent basis.
Yeah. Yeah. Examples like cauliflower rice versus white rice. Yeah. Those are a little bit more like.
Yeah. Supplements. They're like a 1%er kind of thing. You definitely don't need to take them, but if you do, I would refer to our episode 16, top 5 supplements. Creatine is always a good one for increasing your lean mass, rate of muscle growth, multivitamin, fish oil, vitamin D if you're in the north and have had your vitamin D levels tested.
Yeah. Protein powder, if you consider that a supplement.
It's powdered food, but sure, it does supplement your protein intake. Yeah. All right. And then last thing before we get into the takeaways or the step-by-step part is setting some goals. So it's just, if you are biking and you don't know how long you're going to bike for, and you're going like on a destination and you have no idea, it's going to be really hard to keep it going. And same thing with like, I don't know. I think there are a lot of examples of this, like working or, long-term or just during the day. Like if you don't know what time it is and you don't have an end in sight, like really it's about having kind of an end in sight or just having some kind of milestone that you can celebrate. And so setting some goals, they may be weight related, but don't make it like 30 pounds, make it like every like 3 pounds or 5 pounds, because those 3 and 5 pounds, it took a significant amount of effort to get there. Maybe it is a new pair of pants, maybe it is, or like a new sizing of pair of pants. Maybe it is, dropping an inch off your waist. Maybe it is hitting a strength achievement, getting your first pull-up, or just getting like, moving from 10-pound lateral raises to 12.5-pound lateral raises, which if you guys do lateral raises, that is significant. It doesn't sound like much, but it is.
I think I've done 10 pounds for lateral raises for 7 years.
I'm pretty proud. I could do like 35s, maybe.
Yeah, that's insane.
My shoulders are like strong. I have strong shoulders though. Just different stuff like that. Like one memory for me personally is when I hit a 500-pound deadlift. Like I know you remember that. Yeah. I remember that. That was one of the most exciting lifting moments of my life, or like hitting 225 on the bench press for the first time. I do remember that. It was in my buddy's basement, actually. I was wearing like jeans and a sweater, and they were like, "You think you can do 225?" I was like, probably.
That's really funny. Along with setting goals is, oh my gosh, I just kind of started losing it.
Okay. Do you want me to take over?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna move on from the goals section now.
Like I said,
pregnancy brain.
Everything just starts going a little slower.
Yeah.
Each week, it's wow.
She's at 33 weeks.
34.
34 weeks. Oh my gosh.
That's how I feel too.
My pregnancy brain. Oh my God. Okay. So this is the part that we talked about at the beginning of the episode. This is the part where if you're driving, you should probably pull over because this is going to be interactive. Okay. We are going to set up your fat loss phase or your weight gain phase, whatever it is. We're going to set up your nutrition. We're going to set up your everything you need to do to become the fittest version of you. Okay. Are you ready? Step 1. You're going to calculate your calories. You can go to tdeecalculator.net. Now, this is going to be an estimate based on people with similar stats as you. It won't be perfect, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But go ahead, go to tdeecalculator.net, enter everything you got to do, pause, and write it down. You're going to get your maintenance calories. Okay, pause. 3, 2, 1. All right, I assume that you've paused, and now we're moving on. Now you're going to calculate your protein needs. So you're going to take your body weight, or if you have 30 or more pounds to lose, you're going to take your goal body weight, and you're going to multiply that by 0.7 grams. Okay, so let's say you're 200 pounds. Let's say you want to be 170. Can you get a math check for me? If you don't want to lose 30 pounds, you'll use 200 pounds for that, and so you get 140 grams. And if you do want to be about 170, you're going to enter
170 times 0.7.
Yeah.
It's 119 grams.
So 120 grams. Okay. So go ahead and calculate that. Pause and write it down. Okay, next you're going to calculate your fiber needs. So look at whatever you calculated for. Oh, I didn't. We got to go back to calories. Whoopsie. Because so those were your maintenance calories. So let's say it was 2,000 or whatever. I don't, whatever it was. Those were your maintenance calories. If you want to lose weight, I would subtract maybe 10, maybe 20%, or you could subtract like 300 to 500. I would probably be in the neighborhood of 300 to 500 calories subtract. So let's say you're at 2,000 calories, subtract 300, get down to 1,700, and let's just see how it goes. And if you want to gain weight, I would stick to a very small calorie surplus. So probably shoot for like a 100, maybe 200 calorie surplus. I would not go faster than that because it doesn't necessarily increase muscle growth rates that much, but it will increase fat loss or fat gain rates significantly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so your calories, you got your protein needs, your fiber needs. Take your calorie target, whatever it was, divide it by 1,000. Okay, and now you're going to multiply that by 14. So if you have 1,700, you divide that by 1,000, you get 1.7. And then you multiply that by 14. And these are just examples, but you would get
23.8. Right. So 24 grams.
24 grams. There we go. Those are just an example, but you do it for you. Okay, pause, do that, write it down. Next, you can download my data sheet. I have a free data sheet. It is on my Instagram or TikTok, link in my bio. And it just kind of has a spot for you to enter your weight and your calories and your protein and all that stuff. And it'll give you averages and it charts it out. So it's free to download. So feel free to do that. Or you can use an app to track your weight and measurements. Happy Scale is one that tracks your weight and averages it over time. I'm not sure about any others, but you could make your own spreadsheet if you don't want to use mine for some reason, which would be totally fine. Or you can skip the previous 4 steps and just download MacroFactor and let it take care of it for you. And if you use code Alex, you'll get a 2-week free trial. So MacroFactor will assign you your calories, your protein, your fiber needs. It has a spot for your weight, your measurements, your progress photos. And yeah, you can try it for 2 weeks free with code Alex. It will also adjust. The really neat thing about MacroFactor, it's what I've used for the last about 2.5 years now, will adjust your calorie target and your protein and your carbs, your fats, all that, your targets based on your weight gain or weight loss. So you always know that you are going in the right direction for your specific body, for your specific activity levels, everything. All right, next. So you're going to set a realistic step target or length of walk per day if you don't have some kind of step tracker like a Fitbit or Apple Watch or Garmin or something like that. So, let's say you're, a great relatively arbitrary step target is 8,000 steps per day. There's nothing magical about that number, but it's just a good amount of activity without being necessarily like super hard to achieve for a lot of people. But, if you're at 2,000 steps right now per day, just shoot for maybe 3,000 or 4,000 and then maybe titrate it up to 5,000 the next week, then 6,000 the next week and so on and so forth. And if you don't have a step tracker, maybe just say, okay, I'm going to walk for 30 minutes every single day. I'm just going to go on 30-minute walk or I'm going to do 2 15-minute walks. If you are somebody who is sedentary due to work, you have a desk job, is it possible to get a walking pad underneath your desk? If it is feasible, please consider it, because that is probably like the easiest way to drastically pump your steps. You were doing this when you work in corporate and you would get 15, 20,000 steps easily.
Yeah. And that's not with me walking
constantly.
That's like you turn it on when you have a 30-minute like break in your meeting schedule. Right. Yeah. So you can get through a lot of steps that way.
Yeah. All right. Next thing you're going to do. So go ahead and write down your step target or length of walk per day. Pause. And we're back. Next, you're going to find a lifting program. So the A-Team, that's mine. It has a 7-day free trial. It's a great program. 4 days per week. You could dial it back to 3. There's a welcome packet that's sent to you that has instructions on that. But any lifting program will get you results. Some are just a little bit more efficient than others. And for what it's worth, mine is very efficient. Mine's really good. All right. Next, you're going to write down 3 proteins, 3 fruits, and 3 veggies you enjoy. And you're going to add those to your grocery list. Pause and do this now. While we are paused, do you want to talk about 3 of your favorite proteins, fruits, and veggies?
Yeah. 3 proteins: chicken.
Yeah. Salmon.
And shrimp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those are probably my 3 favorites. Fruit, big watermelon kick recently. Yep. Watermelon, strawberries, in pears.
Oh yeah.
Pears are a big one.
Yep.
Veggies, asparagus, broccoli. What have I been
You like the
enjoying?
baby corn. What's it called?
Oh my gosh, yes, the little baby corn.
Yeah.
That's what I call them.
Love that. Bell pepper. We
bell
have that pretty
pepper.
often.
Yeah, those are my favorites.
Yeah, pretty much very similar for me.
Yep. Excluding chicken, but
yeah. And then fruits, strawberries are big for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Proteins, I like beef and, ground, any kind of beef, steak, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoy that. All right. And then once you have your list of 3 proteins, 3 fruits, and 3 veggies that you enjoy, add them to your grocery list. Pause, do this now. All right. Finally, write down your goals. What do you want to achieve? And I would not necessarily worry about a timeline for this one, because timelines, you got to be flexible with them.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have stuff come up. You're going to have a wedding. You're going to have, maybe it's your wedding. Maybe it's somebody else's wedding. Congratulations if you got married. Maybe it's, I don't know, just different stuff. Life events. It can
even just be you get sick.
You get sick. Yeah. Just different life events come up that can derail that timeline. And I think it just sets you up again for those expectations that can be tough to reach. And so you're just, I don't know, you need to set yourself up for success. And sometimes having a strict timeline does not necessarily do that. So be a little bit flexible with the timeline, but think about, what do you want to achieve? Are there any strength targets you want to hit? Are there any process oriented goals? Like, I want to go to the gym 3 times per week for the next 4 weeks, I don't know, just stuff like that. I want to lose 10 pounds, but not necessarily have a strict timeline to it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add in here before we wrap it up?
No, I feel like those are some good points for where to start.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed episode 18, The Beginner's Blueprint. Once again, if you enjoyed this episode, if you found it very helpful, especially for the practical takeaways or the step-by-step guide, that was brand new for us. So please screenshot and share it on your Instagram story. Tag us at AlexToomeyFitness and at Meals with Maddie. Please give us a 5-star review, like, subscribe, 5-star, whatever you got to do. Share it with a friend. It really, really does help us out. It makes my day. I see those numbers climbing in terms of our viewership count and our subscriber count, and it makes me really, really, really does make me happy. So yeah, do all that. And then once again, a reminder, Forward Forever, the new cycle registration opens up June 16th. And if you didn't hear the last episode, my 101 program, The Change Project, is coming soon. There's a wait list on my website. All right. That's it. Take care, everybody.